what can I say? Lyman is pretty much encircled, Yampil is liberated, and the next target for Ukrainians will be Severdonetsk and Lysychansk. And this will most likely be the final major battle before the full liberation of Luhansk region. In the meantime, Putin officially annexes... What a combination of words, right? But anyways, officially annexes 4 regions in Ukraine and immediately uses them to demand negotiations with Ukraine. But in response to that, Zelensky holds an urgent meeting with the National Security and Defense Council. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the point and talk about the counteroffensive of Ukraine in the east and the encirclement of Lyman. As you can see from this video, Ukrainians were able to liberate Zaporozhye. In addition to that, they were also able to fully take back Yampil. And if you remember, this was one of 3 major cities that Ukraine had to liberate before they can advance to Severdonetsk and Lysychansk, with the other 2 being Bilohirivka, which is already liberated, and Lyman, which is already encircled. And then we have this satellite image from Zaporozhye, which shows us the convoy of Russian military vehicles. But this time, the reason for them assembling is not to attack Lyman, but instead is to have a chance at a retreat. And in this final video, we can see Russians retreating from Lyman by foot. As you can see right here, this map shows the Ukrainian progress in only the last 2 days. And even though, technically, the encirclement is not yet fully complete, according to this article by the Institute for the Study of War, if Russians do not receive immediate reinforcements from cities such as Svatovo, Ukrainians will be able to fully liberate Lyman. And guess what? As of today, Ukrainians were able to take this road under their control. And even the Russian infiltrator in Donetsk, Denis Pushilin, he says that the situation in Lyman is unpleasant and the encirclement is partial, which basically means that even if he says that the encirclement is partial, it means that there is no chances for Russians who still remain in the city. Alright, and before I talk about Putin officially acknowledging the annexation of Ukrainian territories, allow me to quickly show you just 5 footages from Ukraine. And while I'm going there, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. Alright, so in this first video, which came to us from Dnipro, we can see that Russians were able to destroy a local bus park. And in addition to that, as you can see right here, a blast wave damaged some civilian apartments. Then we go a little bit to the south, to Zaporozhye. And as you can see right here, Russian missile destroyed a civilian convoy. And finally, we move to Mykolaiv. And as you can see from this video, at least 2 missiles landed in a civilian area. And one of these missiles hit a residential building. And by the way, I recently received some videos of Russian and Ukrainian tanks shooting at each other in a close combat. And if you want to see these videos in addition to all the other footage from today's episode, please consider checking my Patreon. The proceeds will be donated to Ukraine, and you can find all the useful links down below. Alright, and now let's talk about the second major part of the video, which is Putin annexing the territories of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye and Kherson. The decision was obviously made a long time ago, but today Russia had this public show. And during his speech, Putin said, get ready for this, that in accordance with the generally accepted principles and norms of the international law, Russia had to recognize the independence of these regions. He also added that the residents of these territories made their own conscious decision to join Russia. Yeah, right. Then he proceeded to sign the respective, let's call them documents, and after this he made a huge announcement. And what he said is that Russia is now ready to negotiate with Ukraine. And to be honest, long time ago, even before the dates for these referendums were announced, I already made an assumption that Putin might use these territories as a bargaining chip and demand negotiations with Ukraine. And now look what happened. Putin also urged Ukraine to cease all the hostilities hostilities immediately and respect the free decision that the people of these occupied territories were forced to make. But as you already know, previously, President Zelensky mentioned that if Russia accepts these referendums, there will be no way for peace talks. But more about Zelensky and the response from Ukraine very soon. In addition to that, Putin also made several ridiculous statements, and here are the best of them. First of all, is that the times of the Soviet Union are in the past, Russia doesn't want it, and that is why it is trying to avoid it. Second, is that Ukrainians on occupied territories will be forever the free people of Russia. And third, is that America still occupies Germany and Japan. I don't know what is this about, but it is what it is. After Kremlin part of the show, Putin continued to entertain people in the Red Square. And then the Russian propaganda even filmed these paid actors in Luhansk and Donetsk. Alright, and now let's talk about the third major part of the video, which is Zelensky holding an important meeting with the National Security and Defense Council in Ukraine. This meeting was held at the highest level, and most likely we will not know the exact details what was discussed. But my assumption would be how Ukraine should adjust their combat tactics, since now Russia considers these new occupied territories as a part of Russia. And if you remember, Russia previously stated that attacks against these territories will be considered as an attack against Russia. But we do have one public outcome of this meeting, and it is that today Ukraine signed an accelerated application for NATO. In addition to that, Zelensky mentioned that Ukraine hears about the willingness of Russia to resume negotiations. But then he added that the next time Russia and Ukraine will talk, it will be with another president of Russia. I now want to personally say thank you to GT Kachuk, Tim Francis, Michael Dickerson and Cyprian Akoni for becoming my most recent channel members. And if you want to support my work, please consider becoming my channel member as well. Also, if you want to see how the new alleged map of Russia looks like, feel free to join my Discord. And finally, if you want to see some Niagara Falls this weekend, please follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи, and see you on Monday.